It's worth remembering that in the 1980s, a lot of very, very smart people really believed that Germany and Japan were about to leave America in the dust. And it turned out they didn't leave America in the dust. In the 1930s, a lot of smart people believed the Soviet Union and fascist Italy and Nazi Germany were going to leave the United States and the rest of the Depression marooned kind of democratic West in the dust. So to some degree, what you can say is panics about American decline, which we've had a lot of in the second half of the 20th century, are not a bad thing, because sometimes they actually force us to just try to solve some of our problems and to stop being so complacent. The other thing about decline, which is tricky, is that it all depends on when you're starting the historical meter. So that if you compare everything to 1945, when everywhere else in the world virtually was on their knees, it's inevitable that America is in economic decline always from 1945, because it was artificial. Even if you compare America to the late 1990s, which was a moment when China's rise was just early on, Russia, oil prices were very low, the Germans and Japanese were in a funk. Again, it's a kind of an artificial comparison. So that's what distorts the decline debate. I suppose what I would say is, I find it kind of hard to imagine that America's military footprint will continue to be as large as it is today. It will certainly become larger. One of the things that I think we don't think about enough is just how dramatically America's military footprint expanded after the end of the Cold War. You know what I mean? CENTCOM, which ran the military command that ran the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, didn't even exist when Ronald Reagan came into power. We had virtually no ground presence in the Middle East in the Reagan years. You know, Reagan was this great hawk. It was impossible to imagine we would have ground troops all over Eastern Europe and military bases in Central Asia. These were huge parts of the world that were blocked to us militarily. And then when the Soviet Union kind of receded and its clients were left to fend for themselves, American power kind of rushed in to fill this vacuum. I think it does seem to me pretty likely that this tide of American military footprint will recede somewhat. But I think that's not the same as saying that American economic power is destined to decline. I think, in fact, you could make a pretty good argument that part of Barack Obama's central job is to manage that process of military retrenchment to some degree, so to give us the breathing space economically and just in terms of presidential attention, so that we can start to rebuild the American economic model. And I think it would be unnecessarily pessimistic to say that there's no possibility that we could have over time a resurgence of the dynamism of American capitalism, and that could lead to some kind of resurgence of American economic power with a smaller military footprint.